Welcome to the Veterinary Project Podcast, episode 069.
Welcome to the show created by vets featuring absolutely no pets. This is the Veterinary Project Podcast, hosted by Dr. Michael Bugg and Dr. Jonathan Leicht. Our resident veterinarians have swapped out their stethoscopes in favor of microphones to bring you the Veterinary Project Podcast, a show focused on real conversations, aimed to connect this amazing profession full of remarkable people. Through the sharing of collective stories and wisdom, and connecting over the many unique challenges we face, we invite you to join our community of veterinary professionals leading intentional lives. And now, here are the hosts of the Veterinary Project Podcast, Dr. Michael Bugg and Dr. Jonathan Leicht.
Welcome back to the Veterinary Project Podcast. You know it, yours truly, Dr. Michael Bugg, Dr. Jonathan Leicht. Darn, do we got an episode for you today.
It was a fun one. It's always great catching up with Tannetje. For anyone who's just listening and is not watching YouTube, Jonathan also dropped like a rock and roll hand signal, his intros. I was thinking about it in prep. I was like, how is he going to start this episode?
We're having fun with it. We got lots of energy. There's a lot on the go right now. Let's move forward. Mike, what is happening in your world right now?
Okay, so by the time this episode comes out, we're going to be well into December. Jonathan and I are actually ahead. We're pre-recording this in November, so I'm giving myself a pat on the back for that one. We're doing good there. But yeah, so this is always a weird quarter because you're still trying to run it over the finish line, but then the Christmas season, things kind of slow down and it's more that family time. And for the first time in a very long time, I'm really trying to honor that this year. I'm trying to carve out like 2 to 3 weeks around that end of December to just really slow down, which is challenging because that is not my normal, but I'm looking forward to it.
So it sounds to me like you're going to try to be more present with your family in there, doing things, enjoying the Christmas season, but ramping back your business side. Is that correct?
Yeah, I set a goal to work no more than 10 hours from like December 15th through the end of the year, which is like weird to set that kind of a goal. But for me, it's like I have to, because otherwise I'll just keep working more. And then one of the consequences I didn't maybe think through is I'm front loading. So like October and November so far have just been bananas.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter because I have like that goal speaks to me so much because it's like I'm going to go tobogganing with Riley, Festival of Trees. Like she's old enough now where she's just learning about like the holidays and she's so excited. So it's going to be a phenomenal few weeks.
Congratulations. I'm looking forward to hearing in January how you met your goal or succeeded or didn't and what that looks like. And I'm sure there's some listeners on here as well, too, that are giving dagger eyes through the podcast and going, what do you mean 10 hours in 3 weeks? How does that happen? That's why you're listening to the Veterinary Project Podcast. Right?
Well, and like keeping in mind, it hasn't happened yet. Right now, this is just an idea, a good idea. I like it, but we'll see if I can deliver.
Looking forward to hearing more in January as we find out. So on that note, let's get into our conversation today with Dr. Tannetje Crocker and hear about what's been happening in her world over the last few months. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Veterinary Project Podcast. We are joined once again, number 2 episode with Dr. Tannetje Crocker.
Hello. Yes, thank you for having me. I am so excited to catch up with both of you.
This is exciting. We are excited. I've just said excited 3 times. What is this thing? This is how much has happened. We've been trying to get the record button pressed for the last 50 minutes. We are now 50 minutes behind because there has been a lot to catch up on. Tannetje, you have been one busy lady. We want to understand what has been going on over the last few months since you last joined us on the podcast, what's going on in life, what's going on in your professional life, and there's been some changes in the personal life as well. And for those that did not hear our first episode, because we've grown so much over the last 8 months, not so much, doing really well. I want to understand, Tannetje, where do you find yourself in your professional life? Can you give us a little bit of background for those that would not have listened to our first episode?
Yes. So Number one, you guys have grown. I love what you're doing. I was, I think, one of the earlier guests
Yes.
and was really excited about what you were doing and put you in contact with a couple other fun guests. And the episodes have been amazing. The content you're putting out is so helpful. So definitely hope everyone checks out past episodes too. I have had a lot going on. When we last talked, I was a small animal general practitioner. I did a little sprinkle of ER relief on the side. And then I was getting more and more into speaking and traveling and going to conferences. And that has grown. And I have actually changed jobs. So I was kind of interested in Veterinary Emergency Group. I heard about it, heard about this open concept ER, which number one question people ask me is how in the world does open concept ER work where the owners stay with their pets? So I decided to actually just go check out a location. I am north of Dallas-Fort Worth, and I went to Fort Worth to hang out. And I was really, really, really intrigued and obsessed pretty much from the start. And so I wrote an article about it. And then from that visit, they just kind of started talking to me a little bit about what I am passionate about in veterinary medicine. I started seeing more and more things that they were doing differently. And I think anyone who follows me on social media knows that I believe that veterinary medicine needs to change and adapt and do things differently to kind of survive. And so it was honestly a little bit of I would say them pursuing me and talking for about 6 months before I actually decided to make a change. Excellent. I want to be really clear that I loved my previous job. I worked with amazing people. If you're going to work in small animal general practice, I think Northwest Animal Hospital is where you should do it. Great schedule, got paid really well. So nothing about that job made me want to change. It's just a new exciting opportunity came up. And I am the type of person to jump through that open door when it opens. So that is the professional update, I guess.
Love it. And so much to dive into there. I think where I want to start is at your previous role, you were there for a total of 9 years.
Yes. And they were.
Yeah. And as you said, they were great years, partial as part-time and then into full-time practice for 5 years. Is that correct?
That is correct. And it was really nice because I think you guys have talked about this a little bit, but as I was transitioning into full-time, I knew that the original owner was actually going to be transitioning out of practice over the next couple of years. So I had pretty good negotiating power and worked myself a really great schedule. I was able to leave and pick my child up from school 3 days a week. I got 2-hour lunches on my full days and obviously negotiated a production increase and more vacation days. And so extremely happy with the package I had with everything. Definitely had some bumps and struggles during COVID. I think like everyone did, but as a team overall, we pulled together and did the best we could and had amazing clients that were pretty supportive of what we all went through. So overall, a wonderful place to work, a lot going on. There was a couple things. I have a really strong ownership personality. And even though I got to act as an owner in a lot of the decision making, I wasn't an actual owner. And so I felt like this change to Veterinary Emergency Group allowed me to take a little bit more ownership over my career overall. And I have a cool hybrid position that I can kind of talk more about in a little bit.
Yeah. Before we go there, Mike, any questions as a start as well, too? You were part of our 50-minute catch up beforehand.
Well, we have like 100 topics that we're going to dive into in future episodes. Yes. Specific to this, as we're talking about your catch up, you and I connected off air. I don't even know, a month or two ago. I can't remember when it was, right when this position happened. Yeah. The thing that blew me away was you were already basically doing your new position, right? You were putting out your social media content, you're doing videos, you would speak to vet students. It was like this passion of yours. And then all of a sudden it's like this job that was like exactly that gets presented to you. And I'm a big believer in, put it out there, start doing what you want, and you'll find a way to make it happen. And I just couldn't believe how they just came together for you. So it was amazing to see from the outside.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I think when we first started talking, initially VEG, which is what we call Veterinary Emergency Group, was talking about, full-time ER doctor, or even maybe being a medical director and opening a hospital, positions like that. But the more I thought about it. I really wasn't interested in any of those things. And I really enjoyed all these kind of side hustles that I do outside of the hospital. And the turning point was when they actually sent into town David Gladstein, who is him and David Bessler are the two people who are CEO and president of Veterinary Emergency Group. And he came down to kind of just do a hiring trip because the ER was slammed. They knew they needed more employees and they wanted to bring in really the head leaders to kind of talk to people about the goals and the vision. And so he said, let's go to dinner, bring your husband, because I know he's important to you in these decisions. And I literally told my husband, like, let's go have a nice glass of wine and a good dinner, like on somebody else. But like, there is no way I'm changing jobs. I'm just not. Like, I'm in a great position. And then he sat down and he just said, we now understand what you're passionate about. Our views align with things that we want to see change in veterinary medicine. And we want to basically support and empower you to still do what you're doing, but also tell the story of Veterinary Emergency Group. And so it was this cool hybrid position where I only work a few shifts in the ER during the month. And then the rest of the time I do some traveling and speaking, and I work from home and help with marketing. And it has been exactly what I needed to reignite my passion for this career, to allow me to network, and just give me a bigger platform for spreading kind of the I guess the tips and tools and tricks that I've learned in veterinary medicine and the things that I think people need to know to be successful and joyful still in this career. So
Congratulations.
I made a change.
You made a big change.
A big
and
change. Yes.
luck will present itself to those that are ready and make all the opportunities available and open those doors. And it sounds like you, your husband, you took the chance, spent the time to discuss all the options, and it presented itself. So congratulations to you. There are many people that aspire to do what you're doing, and you're actually doing it. Even going onto your website, looking at what your next year's setup for speaking is, you're getting booked pretty quickly, it sounds like. And when we last spoke, that was a focus for you, was to get back out there post-COVID, whatever we want to talk about in the post-COVID era. You're out there, you're doing things.
Yeah, I definitely think networking is key in veterinary medicine to find those positions, to open doors, to connect with the people that are really like-minded and will support what you're passionate about. And so I'm a testament to that. I mean, that's how I've lived my career. And I really think that is an important part of it. I do think some people might find an amazing job and stay in it for a really long time. But I think if you really want to kind of level up, increase your income, you have to be open to new opportunities and making major changes. And I've always been that way. And I luckily am supported by a wonderful partner who, you know, also says, great, if you want to try it, try it. And the worst thing that happens is it doesn't work out and you do something different.
So going back to veg for a moment in that setup, there's a lot of discussion out there to how culturally aligned all the Vegemites or veggies are. Vegemites, I don't even know if that's the right word. That's being on the outside in Canada. Tell us about the culture and cult that is the Veterinary Emergency Group, because it is something that even in my council meetings last month came up in Canada, where there is no veg clinics. And we had our facilitator following you on social media, loving your posts, and she has nothing to do with veterinary medicine. It's amazing.
I think so. One, I do think cult is not a bad word to describe it. And that is basically because we all feel very strongly about what we're trying to do as a group. We really encourage each other to stick to kind of the main, what we call veg spikes and things that we believe strongly in for pets and their people that come into the emergency clinic. And so I joke that I came from Texas A&M University, and if you want to talk about a cult, like we are a cult too. And I'm okay with that. So basically, to me, what it means is we believe so strongly in a set group of kind of core values that we want to have every day be focused on that. We want to encourage each other in those things. And when you see it play out and you see owners say, I've never had this type of experience before in the emergency clinic. And even when it turns out badly, like, thank you for how you guys handled it. Thank you for making this really difficult time better. Or you have a crazy long shift and it's hard. I mean, emergency work is hard. I don't care where you're working. It is long, it is taxing, it is emotional. But if your team, instead of saying, oh my gosh, this is the worst, this is so, such a bad day, that owner was such a jerk, if instead they're saying, what can we do to make this experience better for the owner? How can we help each other? I'm going to get through this shift. We're going to get through it together. It makes a huge difference in how your job is going. And I think that Dr. Bessler, who you're going to interview, I think soon, he always says emergency doesn't have to be a stopping point. It really can be a career long term, but you need to set yourself up for success. And he's done a lot in the way we've structured the VEG experience to have the staff and the team feel supported and empowered by leadership, but also have the owners have an experience that makes it where you want to go to work and you want to save pets and you want to show up every day and do your best.
Amazing. And we look forward to getting into more of that discussion around that core values and that itis and that initial setup, which then sets the tone for everybody else coming in, especially in leadership roles such as yourself.
And it's not for everybody. I just want to put that out there, right? Like a lot of vets are like, oh my gosh, open concept owners with the pets during like a really stressful ER experience. Like that is terrifying to me. And that is valid. Not every personality can handle that. Not everybody has the communication ability to talk to owners in those times, explain what is going on. For me, especially coming from equine medicine, where owners are like, there in the field, we're laying horses down, we're castrating, we're doing stuff. It's my element. Like, let me walk you through this. Let me explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Let me show you the value of what I'm doing and why I'm going to make the recommendations I'm going to make. So I think that is an important point, because a lot of people say, I don't get it, or I don't think I would flourish in it. And you might not, but certain personalities, you are going to love it and you are going to grow so much professionally when you join.
Excellent.
Just a comment on, like culture and core values, however we want to wrap that. I think that's amazing how you said it's not for everyone. And I think really good culture and core values, it should be like that. It attracts the right people and it pushes the wrong people away. And that's fine. I think like in this setting, because you're going to get the people, and in that environment, they're going to grow.
Yes.
And I know David when we had a pre-recording with him, he told us about the core values, and like they were meaningful. Like when he told them and it described them, like it wasn't just authentic, the same core value that everyone has that means absolutely nothing with no context around it. Right. It was a way of practicing and living. And, you can see that in that environment. I think people flourish if it's right for them.
Yes. 100%.
Switching gears, because again, we're going to go long no matter what.
We're trying. I'm trying to keep it short.
Personally, we're looking at you in a new office setup for those that are watching on YouTube or otherwise in video. Tell us a little bit about what's been happening on the personal front, because not only have you made a big professional change in life, you have also made a personal large change in life with you, your husband, and your family.
Yeah, so I think we talked about it before, that my husband and I, we have changed and moved a lot. We like to fix houses up. We'll move every 2 to 3 years. It's kind of a thing. And then we renovate houses on the side too. So we had the opportunity to buy an acre of land kind of right before COVID started. And we decided to be those crazy people and build a brand new custom house during COVID. We did sell our other house beforehand because we didn't know what was going to happen, like with the market in our area and with COVID. And then we actually moved into a travel trailer for 6 months with our kids and lived on my mom's property. And then when the great freeze happened in Texas, we moved into an apartment for 4 months. So for the last about year, we have been kind of on the move, and we are finally in our new house as of last week. I actually finished the office up, hung this yesterday, but it's been amazing. It has been really difficult. Especially building during COVID. Everyone is aware of like back order and how much pricing has gone up. I am fortunate that I have an extremely intelligent partner, and my husband actually bought lumber when we first decided and we stored it on our property like a year ago, or else lumber prices, went through the roof. So we have done that. We've basically managed the job ourselves with the help of a contractor for subs, and it has been well worth it.
I think we're going to have to do a whole new episode just discussing the balance, setup, and organization, along with being a working mom to make all of that possible in your household.
Yeah, it's a lot. It was a lot of long nights and a lot of online shopping and just lists. I mean, a ton of lists and punch items and getting things done. And I think you guys talk a lot about having goals and like checking in. And so we did a lot of that in the process to get through it. So
lots to go with there. So you're in your home. Congratulations. Comfortable setting. And anything else that we didn't talk about in pre-recording or recording that is a hobby or setup that you're finding yourself doing in the minutes that you have available these days?
The only other thing that I would maybe bring up is you guys are very good about talking about kind of things in life that help you and setting schedules. And I have been doing more food prepping and trying to work out a little bit more, which has been really tricky in a camper, and then, trying to get situated in the new house. But trying to be intentional. And then when you have setbacks, not like letting that completely destroy, trying to take better care of myself, like physically and emotionally. And that has been something that's a shift for me. I've always been the type of person that's like, if I just work harder, I'll like work out of the stressful time. Right. And I'll just work out of like, the exhaustion I have. It's like a weird, just work. And I finally have learned to say, wait, no, I need to stop. I need to take care of myself. I need to like, just breathe for a little bit. And that's been a big change for me this last year. And I think it's helped me adapt a little bit to all the stresses that have been going on, to think a little bit more about like the mind body part of myself in veterinary medicine.
Amazing.
With what's been happening over the last year, was there an itis that brought that on in terms of, hey, saying I need to sit down and take care of myself? Or was that a directional goal? Tell us briefly what that looked like to you.
I basically just hit the wall, and I found that I was not as present, honestly, physically, like being able to keep up with my kids and do things like I was doing beforehand, and emotionally, like I was so tired. And you know how it is, you're at practice every day and you're just talking to people and giving. And then I would just come home and just not be mentally there. And I found my kids, with everything we were doing in COVID and dealing with, they needed me to be more present. And that was another reason why I made a change, so I could have some more work from home days and I could just be available to them more. And that is hard for me to kind of say. I guess I felt like I was struggling as a parent and as a partner, but realizing I needed that emotional health to be able to feed into everybody. I'm really good at doing that at work, but at home, it's sometimes harder because you're so tired.
Yeah. And then your family hurts or struggles as a result of it.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing. Very much appreciated.
Sorry.
No, this is the real deal. This is life. This is for all of us in the veterinary and beyond, just in professions where we're also driven. We want to succeed. And yet then we get home and Mike and I have had these conversations before. It's difficult when sometimes they're then put last, and it's not right.
And it's important to say, like, it's okay to say, I need to slow down, or I need to make a change. I do hear so many people right now struggling in veterinary medicine, and it breaks my heart. And I think all of us have been good about saying, there's so many things you can do with your degree. There's so much opportunity out there. And so making that change and being intentional about it, so you can be present more in your real life and at work is important. Yeah.
And the interplay between it, because one matches the other, and in our worlds, we're in it 24/7.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Tannetje. I am extremely looking forward to the three of us and future guests that we have on together to discuss both the profession of veterinary medicine, the future, and what it looks like. It's been great catching up with you. It is overdue, and there's such an amount of change that you've gone through over the last 8 months. It's impressive.
Well, thank you for having me. And I am super excited to do more guesting in 2022. And if anyone has any hot button topics or anything specific you guys want us to hit on, just make sure that you message us or you leave a comment, because we would love to talk about what's going on in veterinary medicine, and especially what's specifically affecting veterinary professionals.
That's it.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, Mike, anything in closing?
Two things. One is just to make sure it's very clear for the listeners, because obviously Jonathan and I respect you a ton, Tannetje. So in 2022, we're going to kind of be handing some of the microphone off to Tannetje and say, hey, you pick some topics, you bring some guests, because you have perspectives we maybe haven't thought about. So, I mean, we're really excited. That's why when we catch up with you, we need to book so long, because we can go down all the rabbit holes. And then the final thing, just for Jonathan, is Vegemite is an Australian yeast spread.
Yes.
That's what Vegemite is. It is. I was laughing when you said that. And for our Australian listeners, I don't know how you eat it. I've tried Vegemite, and wow, I can't get there.
And I love, Mike, the wrap up to the beginning. That's such a good story move. And 3% of our listeners, as according to anchor.fm, are Australians. So I completely disrespected them. And for those that are out there.
Yep. You guys have a great day. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Veterinary Project Podcast. As a recap, on behalf of our hosts, the Veterinary Project Podcast will be releasing new episodes weekly. So be sure to tune in as we bring you more conversations aimed at helping you enjoy a life well lived. If you enjoyed what you heard on the show and you want to stay in the know, please like, love, and or subscribe to the podcast on the listening platform of your choosing, as we're available on all the usual suspects. If you know of others that may benefit from these conversations, we'd love it if you please share the show with them, as this will help us grow our community to reach more and more veterinary professionals. Speaking of which, if you are a veterinary professional and would like to get connected with more like-minded individuals who are joining us on this journey, please send an email to the veterinaryprojectpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll invite you to be a part of our private Facebook group. General feedback, requests for information, or perhaps requests to be a guest on the show can also be sent to the Veterinary Project Podcast @gmail.com. Dr. Michael Bugg and Dr. Jonathan Leicht, thank you for listening to the show, and we'll catch you again next week for another episode of the Veterinary Project Podcast. Bye for now.